everyone, this is Jenny coming to you with an update on my HCG journey. I hope you're all doing fantastic out there. I am hearing from more and more of you who are currently in P2 as well, so that's exciting. If you're not currently in P2, but you're going to be, or you're just getting information for someday when you do, then welcome. And I hope you find a bunch of scattered information amongst a bunch of me just talking about my life in here. And today we don't have concrete information either. I have to say that there is a week-long holiday in China, so I'm not getting up early and I'm not teaching classes, and I don't have those hunks of time that are free. So I let myself sleep in, and then I get up and I have to run and go. In fact, I look at the clock and I really have to leave the house in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to try to keep this brief. But let's go over numbers. Oh gosh, it's been a few days since I last talked to you, and I really should look back and see where I was last time I spoke to you. I was, oh, round 3, day 2. It's been a while. Has it really been that long? I'm so sorry. Round 3, day 2, startup again, I guess we should say. Because I am on round 3, P2, day 10 right now. Has it really been 8 days since I've done a video? That doesn't seem right. I know it hasn't been 8 days. Something's off. Don't know. Not going to figure it out now. Anyway, let's go back a little bit. So when I was at day 2, I had lost 1.6 pounds that day. Okay. By day 3, I lost 1.4. I remember, I think I did a video about that because I was just sort of evening out the fact that for some reason the first day after my loading I did not lose much at all. I lost 0.3. But then the next 2 days were 1.6 and 1.4. So I was like, okay, now I'm getting back on track. Then I was excited. The next day was 1.0. I want to say that that thing was not day 2. It must have been P2, and I forgot to put the day, but I wrote it as day 2. So I apologize. The title of that last video is incorrect. I just opened up the channel and looked at the title. Because I'm pretty sure we talked about this. So I was excited because I talked about how usually the first 5 days I do good and then I start to fall off the wagon. All right, so at day 4 I lost another pound, so very excited about that. Day 5, I was getting a little bit nervous because I was doing so well. And normally I do good for 5 days, but who knows. Day 5, I lost another pound. So that was great. At that point, I was 5 days in and I had lost 5.3 pounds. Happy, happy, happy. All right. Then we move on to day. Oh, I skipped a day on here. That's part of the reason why this is a little confusing to me. I wrote next day was day 7, and the next day is not day 7. The next day would be day 6 because 6 comes after 7. I mean, 6 comes after 5. Don't do two things at one time and change numbers while you're talking, Jenny. Don't do it. All right. All right, so day 5, I'd lost 5.3 pounds. And we went to day 6, and I lost 0.4. Now, not a surprise to me because this is my MO when I do these rounds. I have 5 good days, and then, and you know what? Not so bad. That's almost a half a pound. If somebody told you were going to lose a half a pound a day consistently, you'd be like, yes, sign me up. What do I have to do? And that's what HCG does for me. Like, when I'm good, and that doesn't mean 100% following protocol, because I don't 100% follow protocol at all anymore. I'll talk about that in a second. But it just means I find the parameters that work for me and work for my body that allow me to lose weight. What's way more important than being to the letter of the law and the protocol is to find what works with your bodies. Our bodies are all unique. We can't have a cookie cutter approach and say this is the perfect diet and give it to all these different body types. Look at everyone's different bodies. They're so different. Look at children in the same family eating the same food in the meal times. And you have one that is more fluffy and one that is like a beanpole and can't gain any weight. Like, it just God created us all different. So you have to work with this diet and find what works for you. Okay, so I found what worked for me. And for me, what works for me is to find food that's around 500 calories a day, maybe 5 to 600 calories a day, depending on the day, 4 to 600 calories, depends on the day, and to have it taste really good. So that doesn't mean 0 calories or 0 carbs for me. But then again, you're allowed to have an apple. So if you're allowed to have an apple, then it's okay to have a low carb wrap, um, in my world, according to me, in my opinion, if it works with your body. End of story. End of story. What would you rather do? Know that you did Dr. Simeon's protocol to the letter of the law and followed it perfectly, and you were a good little student and you lose 10 pounds at the end of your first round? Or do you want to tweak and work with it and find something? And you're miserable, let me just say. Let's just say you're miserable along it because it's so restrictive on what you can eat. Or do you work with it and slowly modify, substitute, find things you like, create kind of a meal that's like one of your favorite things so that every day you're so happy when you're eating and it's just like, oh, this is great, I love this. And then you don't feel deprived at all. And at the end of the month, you lose 10, maybe 15 pounds. See, that's the deal. If you can work with your body, you might lose more weight than what the protocol says you should do because maybe your body reacts differently on the protocol. And although you're not supposed to figure out, your body's not supposed to think that it's in starvation mode at all because the HCG drops are supposed to take care of that, maybe you're a little bit different. We're all uniquely and wonderfully made. So figure out what works for you. All right. So then we move on to day 6. Okay, so that's when I lost 0.4. Fine. Okay. Next day I lost zero point 0.6. So again, an average of a half a pound a day for those 2 days. Okay. Usually when I do HCG, I will say that at the end of a round, my average is about a half a pound a day in the end. With a little bit of stalls that are in there or the days you don't lose as much and then the good days. At the end of a full round, I usually average a half a pound a day. So it makes me happy when I always hit that half pound. When I'm below it, then I have to go, don't worry about it, Jenny. You're going to average a half a pound. You lost more earlier. But when I know I'm hitting at least a half a pound, then I really feel like I'm chugging away. And then the next day was yesterday. That was day 8. I lost exactly a half a pound. Okay, I'll take it. We're moving in the right direction. And then today I got on the scale and it said I lost exactly 1 pound. I love these exact numbers. It doesn't usually happen like that on my scale. But yeah, I've had a lot of exact numbers this round. I don't know. Maybe it's the consistency of what I'm eating every day. And so my body is consistently reacting to it. I'm very nervous about a stall coming. But I'm doing good. I'm doing good. You know that I'm in a weight loss challenge and I have a certain amount of weight that I have to lose. I have to lose 5.4 more pounds in 10 days, which seems like a no-brainer at this point. Except this weekend I'm going to my son's school for parent weekend. Yes. The hotel I'm staying in does have free breakfast. Telling you, my grandmother was a product of the Depression. Couldn't find a more frugal person on earth. I mean, she reused everything. I remember her telling me the story about if you had more than just a tiny little bit of garbage out on your front lawn at garbage time, that the neighbors would almost like shun you and you'd be like ostracized because everybody needed to be conservative. She would reuse bag. I mean, there was not a bread bag. Would you toss it up when you're done and throw it away? No. And of course, I don't either. I use it to pick up the poop when I dog sit my mom's dog, and sometimes even put the kitty litter. Although it's harder because it's a narrower thing. But yeah, I use the bread bags. I don't just throw them away. Because my mother was then raised that way, and that's all she knew. So that's essentially how we were raised. Now, of course, from generation to generation to generation, you loosen the purse straps a little bit, and I definitely have way more waste than either of them did. I'm also married to an extremely frugal man. So actually, I am the liberal, let's throw it away, get rid of it person of the two of us, believe it or not. All right, how did I? Oh, this all goes back to the fact that if somebody's offering me a free meal, or I go to a buffet and it's like all you can eat, my brain automatically says to me, fill up, you don't have to eat later. You can save money later on and skip the next meal. Or enjoy it. It's free. This is, it's let somebody give it to you. Now, if I paid for it, I'd be like, enjoy it. You paid for it. Eat as much as you can. So, any way you look at it, when food is given to me, I just love to eat, which is why this is the diet I need to truly lose weight because just I fall under the food addiction category, although not officially diagnosed. And I have issues, many issues, when it comes to wanting to eat too much food. Um, there's two things that keep me on track: HCG and knowing that by taking the drops, if I eat a lot of food, um, and two, it's having a goal. I really work for carrots. You dangle a carrot in front of me and to something I'm going to receive as a prize or a reward if I accomplish this, then I do really well for that. Just self imposed goals of I'd like to lose this much by this day. That doesn't work. But I'm financially invested in my weight loss journey and on this program that I'm in, and therefore I need to lose the weight. I don't really have a choice. Then I'm like, okay, let's do it because I won't lose out on the money. I will not lose out on the money. I will not. Okay, so all in all, I am 9 days in on my restart of P3. I had done it for a little bit and then I had to stop for about 8 days for medical testing and all that and to get clean blood samples. So um, this is my restart of 3. But I will say my overall number since we started HCG in about, what was it, March or April of, I think it was April of 2021, I have lost 27 pounds. That is good. Maybe it was March. It was probably March. I think January and February, I lost about maybe 5 pounds ish. No, I didn't. I lost like 3.5 pounds because overall, I am right now down over 30 pounds. Yeah, 30.5 pounds since I weighed in around Christmas time. December 27th, I think, is the day that I started the whole like weight loss journey diet, healthy wage, financially invest into a weight loss program kind of thing, game, whatever you want to call it. Um, and then I tried to lose on my own and I lost 3 pounds in 2 months. And I thought, well, this isn't going to work, is it? Because I had to lose 35 pounds by the mid part of October. Um, and I wanted to lose it sooner rather than later because I needed to fit into my summer clothes, which I couldn't even fit into any of my winter clothes, quite frankly. I was wearing just stretch leggings and borrowing my son and husband's t shirts to wear to the gym when I started going to the gym with my daughter. So, yeah, that was a mess. Okay, so I wanted to talk briefly about um, like, was it accountability? What was I going to talk about? Oh, doing what works for you. Doing what works for you. I think it was Emily, if I recall correctly. Evelyn Lopez wrote a couple notes to me recently, and she's starting on her journey the same time I am. So you go, Emily. Evelyn, sorry. I don't know why I just assumed in my head I keep changing it to Emily. Um, Good luck on your journey, Evelyn. And she had questions about like which foundations, which makeups, which sunscreens, which lotions, and all that. Because she needs them too. And in the end, I was sharing with her what I used, but then in the end, I realized she was very nervous about the protocol and it saying, you can't have any of that stuff. And the first time I did HCG, round 1, I did cut all of it out. I wore no foundations, I wore no makeups, I wore no lotions, I wore no sunscreen in the summer. I wore none of that. Um, and oh, it was kind of near the end of the summer when I started it, so I didn't need the sunscreen as much. By that point, I had a base tan. So, but at any rate, the next time I did it, it was summertime, and I'm like, not only do I need the sunscreens, but my skin gets very dry from being out in the sun, and I needed lotions also. So I started looking at my numbers and looking at my numbers the first time I had done the round, and I was losing basically the same amount. Now, by round two, which was like a year later, I want to say, um, by round two, the very first time I did this, and we're talking like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, um, I was already tweaking it a little bit because I really was quite miserable doing it the first time. I just felt like, I mean, I enjoyed what I was eating because I ate nothing else. And, my husband and I joke about like when we take a bite of something, I'm like, oh, this was such a good say. Oh, this was so good. And we're like, God, everything tastes good when you're dieting. And he's doing the whole weight loss thing too. So he's also in a calorie restriction mode himself. He's on his own. I don't know exactly what he's doing. He's just eating a lot of salads, and he does him, I do me. We just kind of make our own foods and kind of go our own ways as far as that's concerned. And I make vats of things to like just help yourself to some of this salsa chicken whenever you want it. It's really healthy, and we just kind of have things like that around. Um, okay, so this is so me. I start talking about things and then I get distracted. Okay, so I was talking about Evelyn. I was talking about UDU. So this kind of ties in when I was talking about what do I eat on the journey and in terms of lotions. And I had already written this back to her and that, but you just need to find that what works for you. And I shared with her the fact that I did not see a change on the scale. Like I would do 3 days of using lotions and makeup, and then I'd do 3 days of none of it, and then I would go back, and it was always consistent, and there didn't seem to be a relation at all. So for whatever reason, the lotions and stuff on my skin did not affect me. Now, that's not the case with everyone. I had one lady write me and say that she can't touch anything that has any kind of oils or lotions in it. In fact, she had a 1 pound gain on the scale the day after she prepared salmon for her family. And it was just preparing. She said she didn't eat any of it, but it was just the touching of it. And she knew that she had that reaction, but she just didn't think of it. She thinks of it as lotions and, and makeups or whatever, and just didn't even think about the oily nature of the fish and how much she was handling it on her hands. Um, and so, yeah, so everyone is different. So you're just going to have to find your sweet spot and what works for you. What works for you. I pray um, that you can err a little bit more on the side of like me, where certain things just don't seem to affect me as much. I can have shredded chicken and salsa on a 4 carb spinach wrap that I think is 50 calories with about a quarter cup of shredded mozzarella cheese on it. Fold it over, smash it down, put it in the toaster oven, get it nice and crunchy, open it back up, throw in like 2 cups of lettuce, and then have a huge sandwich to eat. And be very, very happy because the flavors of all of that together just make me very happy. I can have, on occasion, keto bread. I had that once. I had 2 ends left, and I'm like, I'm not going to throw these away. They cost too much money. And I made myself a grilled chicken and cheese sandwich with it. So that was a little extra butter, and then that was more cheese than I normally would eat. And of course, it was 2 pieces of keto bread. Now, the keto bread does have 0 net carbs. So it's pretty good. But still, it is a bread, and it changed it. I think that was the day that I lost a half a pound, or point six or point 0.5 on this diet. So did I lose the whole pound the next day? No, but then, right back on the wagon again. I also, um, generally what I ate like what I described to you, that wrap yesterday. And then afterwards, I had 3 of the keto clusters. So it's like 4 different kinds of seeds and nuts, covered in the coconut oil, which is completely safe. This is all very, very keto friendly. But these are covered in dark chocolate. Way better than the regular keto clusters. Um, and I am a huge fan of chocolate. It's the one thing I miss the most on this diet. So I took three of those small clusters and ate those yesterday. The day before, I had four, and I thought I can't keep doing that on a regular basis. I'm going to cut back to three. So for today, I'm going to cut it back to two. Or sometimes I'll do twice. Instead of doing that, I had a cup of hot cocoa. So I found this brand of hot cocoa that's 4 net carbs per serving. It's like 11 ounces, and it's really rich and creamy. I got the chocolate sea salt caramel flavor. So good. I'm gonna sneeze. I'm so sorry. And it's so good. And that is like a sweet treat for me. It's made with Splenda. It has 0 calories, but it did have the 4 carbs in there. So, um, no, it couldn't have 0 calories. It's made with Splenda, but there are more calories in it. Oh, what was it now? How many calories per serving did it say? 20? Might have been 20. I'll have to look that up if you're interested. Anyway, so find what you like, find what works for your body, and stick with it. And just keep doing it and keep taking. I mean, also, I do the HCG drops twice a day instead of 3 times a day. I find it just works for me. I take it first thing in the morning and then later on in the day, probably within about an hour after I've eaten. And I usually eat about 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Um, so I'll eat, I'll take a little break, I'll have my keto clusters, I'll enjoy that. About 30 minutes to an hour after that, I'll take the drops again, and then I'm good for the rest of the day. Um, it works for me, and the weight's coming off. So, okay. Am I sounding like a broken record at this point? I feel like I'm sounding like a broken record. All right. That's all I have. I need to go. Look at the clock. Good luck to you on your journey. Stick with it. Um, we'll see how this weekend goes. Oh, I started saying I'm going to my son's college this weekend, and there's free breakfast at the hotel. But not only that, but the one dinner is in the dining hall. They have a dueling piano thing going on, and my husband's never been in the dining hall, so I thought, well, this would be nice for him to see what it looks like, because normally you can't just walk in and go. You have to swipe or pay to get in. Um, so I'm like, we'll just pay the $10 for the two of us to go. My son can get in for free, and we'll sit and enjoy and listen to the dueling pianos and then get a chance. And apparently all the different foods from the different kind of like specialty food courts and all that they're going to bring in to try. So I thought it would be fun, especially for us to encourage my son, who's pretty narrow-minded when it comes to eating foods, to try different things, and we can try different things and have him try it so that he can kind of expand his palate. He did admit to me the other day that he is trying to make other choices in the dining hall except for pizza, which means all he's been having is pizza. So, um, so that's one night. So all you can eat food for the evening. And then the next evening is following the football game, and it's called Pie with the President. And you go to the lawn at the president's house, and they are serving pizza pies and regular pie for dessert. So, I will stop taking the drops probably Friday morning. And so I mean, this is not protocol at all, but you know what? This is my son, and I'm going to participate in the activities with him. I'm not just going to sit there, and I'm not going to torture myself in the dining hall of all those wafts of smells for a couple hours and sit there and listen to it, or go to this free president's, again, that's free too, free pizza and pie, to go there and not eat any pizza. Probably two of my favorite foods. So, this is what I'm going to do. Is my weight going to go up? Yes, it is. But then I'm going to jump right back on the wagon, because I can see that when I have a goal in mind and when I am disciplined, I am in day 9 and I lost 7.8 pounds. I am so proud of that. If I just start again on the Sunday after we come back. We're going to come back late Saturday night. Actually, we're not going to spend 2 nights there. And so getting up first thing Sunday morning and taking my drops and knowing I'm only going to have one of those chicken sandwiches, that's it. And I'm going to be back on track, then I'm good because I can be on track for losing the weight in the time that I need to lose it. Okay. Love to you all. I'm a rambler. You take care. Let me know how you're doing on your journey. Best of luck to all of you. Bye.